Oh, so glad to see you all here this morning. We are here at the Humanists of Greater Portland meeting, and we have our Zoom audience. Welcome, Zoom audience. I'm glad you've joined us. And for the folks here at Friendly House, so glad you're here too. HGP believes strongly in freedom of speech, but the views expressed by myself, today's reader, today's speaker, humanist members, and our guests at today's meeting are not the official views of the Humanists of Greater Portland. Humanism is a non-theist philosophy informed by science, inspired by art, and motivated by compassion. Humanists strive to lead meaningful and ethical lives using reason and empathy to guide our decisions. We strive to live meaningful lives because this is the only life of which we are certain. We acknowledge all that humans have accomplished in the arts and the sciences and humanities and honor the responsibilities and freedom that living in a representative democracy entails. We recognize the dignity and worth of all people and the importance of cooperation to be able to live in a peaceful society. Our reader today is one of my favorites, my husband, Al Christians. Come on in there, buddy. Mm-hmm. He's worked so hard on this.
Okay. There has been some discussion about the concepts of kingship, monarchy, and royalty going on in recent years. And I hope that I can clarify the fundamental facts with a reading from over 800 or 900 years ago. Don't go to sleep yet. This reading was written by a woman. It is very short and pithy. The writer was Marie from France, the moniker by which she identified herself in her works. And she may have been an abbess and or more likely a sister of King Henry II of England, who also ruled Normandy simultaneously. Regardless, she was remarkable, writing poems, fables, and epics that were well known in the court of Henry II. That was a time very, very different from our time. And I present this not with the idea that it constitutes any profound advice for the 21st century, but to suggest that the people who lived when the Holy Roman Emperor was in elected office and a century before the lesser nobility worked together to obtain the Magna Carta faced problems similar to some now provoking thought, and they analyze them from a different point of view that might somehow help us a little today. It is from her fable, A Man, His Belly, and His Limbs. I got it from the Historian's Splaining podcast, which I recommend very highly. Of a man I wish to tell, as an example to remember, of his hands and of his feet and of his head. They were angry towards the belly that he carried, about their earnings that it ate. Then they would not work anymore, and they deprived it of its food. But when the belly fasted, they were quickly weakened. Hands and feet had no strength to work now, as they were accustomed. Food and drink they offered the belly, but they had starved it too long. It did not have the strength to eat. The belly dwindled down to nothing, and the hands and feet went too. From this example, one can see what every free person ought to know. No one can have honor who brings shame to his Lord, nor can his Lord have it either if he wishes to shame his people. If either one fails the other, evil befalls them both.
Al, that was very well done. Thank you. And very timely reading. I would now like to introduce our speaker this morning. Steve Clark is a forensic meteorologist and has been doing this work for over 30 years. He is the president of the Lightning Data Center. And I'm personally very interested in this topic because the patients who are struck by lightning in the state of Oregon are brought to the Oregon Burn Center. So I've worked with quite a few lightning survivors, and they're extremely complicated patients. And so the work that the work that Steve is doing, I'm mesmerized by. I just can't wait to hear. So Steve, thank you so much for joining us today and the important work that you're doing for us all. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate that. And let me share my screen and we'll get started with the show. There we go. So here's the outline of our talk today. What is lightning and how is it made? Some Pacific Northwest lightning statistics, types of lightning injuries, some lightning safety tips, and then we'll have a little bit of fun with lightning fact or fiction, and then we'll have Q&A following that. So what is lightning? We all know what it is. It's that big flash of electricity that comes down and terrorizes us poor people here on Earth. It is a static discharge from the cloud down to the ground commonly, and it forms in a mature thunderstorm when you have ice crystals in the top of the cloud and they bump into each other. And when they bump into each other, there's a partial charge on the ice crystals, some positive, some negative, and they end up splitting to form these regions of positive, negative charge. And then in the simplified diagram, you can see positive charges here in the upper part of the cloud, some negative charges here, some positive charges here, and then that induces a negative charge in the ground. So what happens when lightning forms is you have, first of all, what's called a step leader, and it takes a very stepwise path towards the ground. As that step leader gets closer to the ground, it induces what are called upward streamers. And upward streamers can emanate from anything. You, me, your house, your antenna, your flagpole, blades of grass, even your dog, your cat, anything. And once once the step leader makes contact with one of those upward streamers, bang, there's your lightning and there's your thunder, which immediately follows. The channel becomes, and there's a rush of current through that channel, which ionizes it and excites the atoms in that channel, and which creates photons, which we see as light. And because of the rapid surge of current, there's a tremendous amount of heat in that channel, which expands outward. And it's that outward expansion of heat that gives rise to what we call thunder. And in this photograph, I want you guys to take a minute and count how many streamers there are, upward streamers there are on that photograph. And if you guys guessed 8 or 7, I wouldn't fault you, but really it looks like there's 8, and I'll show them to you. 1, 2, a little itty bitty third one way in the back, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is right at the time when they're about to connect and create a big flash. This is some high-speed lightning, a still shot from a high-speed lightning video that was captured in Brazil in 2023 during some research. So what kinds of lightning are there? It's pretty much the same phenomenon. The most common is cloud to ground, and we'll be talking about that mostly. And then you have intra-cloud lightning. This is lightning that is flashing within the clouds. Then you have some cloud-to-cloud lightning, it hops one cloud to another, or it simply discharges out into the thin air. And then occasionally you have what's called bead lightning. When a lightning flashes, and the lightning flash is dissipating, you'll sometimes see little balls or beads of light as it dissipates. And then finally, we have what's called ribbon lightning. And how this is caused is when you see lightning, you'll sometimes see a flicker in front of you. And that flickering is caused by multiple surges of current going through that channel from that flash. There are multiple pulses of current going through that, and each pulse causes a flash of light. And so if the wind is blowing the lightning channel from one side to the other, sometimes you can pick that up in your camera. The other way you can pick that up is by holding your camera and just moving it from one side to the other. And hopefully you catch the lightning flash in the field of view while you're doing that. You might pick up this ribbon lightning effect. And here's an example of some cloud to ground lightning here and cloud to cloud across the middle. This is a lightning thunderstorm day map for the United States. The west coast rather has on the order of 5 to 10 thunderstorm days per year. That would include you guys in Portland. And then further in, then they tend to increase. And then here in the United States, Florida has the highest number of thunderstorm days per year. I don't know why I had that map in there. Total lightning density in the U.S. In the Portland area, right about here, you guys are on the order of about 1/10 to half of flash density per year per square kilometer. 1 kilometer is about 6/10 of a mile. So roughly 6/10 of a mile per side. And so you guys don't have the frequency of lightning that places further west of you in Washington and Oregon have. And in 2024, the National Lightning Data Network found the highest flash density in Oregon was 18 near Cornucopia. And similarly, in state of Washington, you had a high flash density of 18 in Cinnabar in 2024. And that's going to move around from one place to the other from one year to the next. This is a lightning density map of the world. Up here in the upper left is the United States here, Pacific Northwest here, Florida being our nation's hotspot. Some activity of lightning in the Caribbean, and also Venezuela near Lake Maracaibo in particular. You also have a fairly high density here in the Pampas region of South America. Swinging over here to the east, you have a pretty high density along Indonesia and that region of the world, and then also up towards Nepal, just north of India and Bangladesh. That's associated with the annual monsoon that they have there. But by far and away, the hot spot is in Central Africa. They get hit hard and have a real big problem there because they don't have the infrastructure that we have here in the U.S. to help protect us. They have grass huts, and not only that, they have a high rate of superstition and religious overtones, which complicate lightning safety in that area. And some of our members are working with those people to set up lightning safe schools over there to help protect the kids. How do people get hurt by lightning? We have direct strike, contact injury, side flash or splash, ground current, upward streamer, and blunt injury, and I'll show you those. Direct strike is just that. Lightning comes from the sky and it hits you directly. About 3 to 5% of the injuries are a result of that kind of strike. Contact injury is lightning hits a conductive object like a flagpole, a metal pipe, a fence, and the current runs along that metal conductor, and then if you're touching it, it comes off of it and through you. That's another 3 to 5% of the injuries. Side flash or splash, the lightning hits an object and then jumps off of that and comes down to you. That's about 30 to 35% of the injuries. And then ground current is the most common way that people get hurt. Lightning strikes an object, comes down to the ground and radiates away from that point of contact with ground and gets you. And in this figure, I show it's kind of like the grooves in an old record. And if your legs are perpendicular to the grooves on that record, so to speak, part of that current is going to go straight across the plane of the record, and part of that current is going to go up one leg and down the other. And when you have that lag in the current due to the travel through your legs, that creates an induced current that can hurt you. And finally, you have upward streamers. Like I said, everything on the ground is an upward streamer earlier. And so if you have a lightning flash near you, but not at you or on you, the upward streamers that were present in the area will rapidly collapse. And that rapid collapse can induce a current in the body, causing injuries. And then finally, there are airborne projectiles. When lightning strikes the ground, it throws objects all over the place, like rocks from the sidewalk or the road, dirt, tree limbs, and bark. Those things can cause injury. And then also the blunt injury from being knocked down to the ground by a shock wave can also cause head trauma. And we don't know the extent of those injuries. And some of those injuries might be combined, for example, the contact injury and also the ground current and this. So you might have a combined effect, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. That's the citation that I put in my talk for those injury examples. And I want to talk a little bit about lightning safety. First thing you need to do to be safe with lightning is to avoid it in the first place. Check your forecast on the NOAA weather radio, your TV station, the internet, your smartphone. There's a lot of ways to get a weather forecast. And if thunderstorms are forecast for the time that you have an outdoor activity plan, can you do the activity at a different time? Can we do it earlier in the day, maybe, when thunderstorms are not as likely to be present? Or can we do it on another day? And if you can reschedule the activity, then do it. But sometimes you can't. So as you're going about your activity, one of the things you want to keep in mind if thunderstorms are forecast, where are the safe places that I can go if thunderstorms and lightning should threaten? A house, a typical house, a public building like a school, a bank, a restaurant, a sufficiently large building that you can go into. Or your fully enclosed car, if you have access to your car, get inside of it, shut the doors, and roll up the windows. That's another safe place, and I'll come back to that too. If you can't get inside to a safe place, what you need to do is, well, if you go inside your house, once you're inside your house, avoid contact with any cabled or corded devices in the house. And the reason for that is because lightning can hit the wires and then come into the house and zap whatever you might be touching. Your hair dryer, your plugged-in computer or cell phone, your old-fashioned landline phones. We don't have too many of those anymore, but they're out there. Avoid running water, and yes, that includes the toilet and the sink. And you may laugh about the toilet, but I have 2 cases on file where lightning struck apartment buildings, ran down some of the plumbing in the apartment buildings, and there were 2 rooms in the apartment where the toilet was shattered, literally shattered. If you're outdoors and you can't get inside, try to find shelter under a large stand of trees, taking shelter nearest the smaller trees and not the taller trees. Places to avoid. Don't try to seek shelter up here. You just add to the height of that object, making you more attractive than anything else around it. This is another bad situation because you're going to be standing taller than any of these little scrub weeds. And these little shelters out here are not worth it. They will not protect you. A gazebo like this is a lousy option. The reason being, if you're standing underneath it and lightning hits that gazebo, it could go through that gazebo, through you, and into the ground. And that gazebo is effectively acting like an electrical plate, especially if it has a metal roof, an electrical plate that can collect a powerful charge relative to the ground. You'd be stuck in the middle of that, and that's not a good situation. Standing trees or single trees. Every year, people are killed by standing underneath trees seeking shelter from the rain. And I talked about the contact injury, the side splash, and the ground current. You can have a combination of those things. If the lightning hits the top of that tree, comes down, and you're standing next to the trunk, it can come off the trunk and through you down the ground, and a part of the current will go down through the ground and get you through your feet. And that's a very bad situation. And a lot of people die because they stand under trees seeking shelter. On the water, if you see storms forming, you're out on the water, get back to shore and get to a safe place immediately. And understand that it might take you longer to get back to shore than it did to get to where you are because of changes in the water current and also changes in the wind. Might be harder to get back to where you started from. Tall objects like tree trunks are not a good place to be. You got these two animals not being a good place to be if lightning were to be threatening. And similar deal here, this tall tower would be hit, ground current or side splash could come off of that and get you. Lean-tos like this are worthless. Get inside if you can, that's a better option. Do not stand near electric fences, that would be a contact injury. Almost every year we have livestock that get killed because they're standing next to a fence and the current travels along the fence and they're in contact with it and they get uh, hurt and killed. So how do you keep track of lightning? Some people like to use their cell phones, the smart apps, the weather apps on the cell phone to keep track of lightning. I generally don't do it, and the reason being is that oftentimes, from the time the lightning strike is detected to the time it appears on your weather app on the cell phone, there is a healthy delay in that communication of information from the time it occurs to the time it comes into your phone. And I don't rely on those services for that reason. Clouds like this, you want to keep track of when you're out and about doing your activities. When they're starting to grow with these nice hard tops on them like this, that's an indication there's an updraft forming, and that's where the ice crystals start to form and then begin to separate and create that charge in the cloud. When you're out there and about and you see those kinds of clouds, look for lightning. If you see it, flee it. Get to a place of safety immediately. Listen for thunder. If you hear it, clear it. Get to your safe place, to your place of safety immediately. How far away is that lightning? You can use the flash to bang method to get a rough estimate. Right after you see the lightning, start counting the seconds by counting 1001, 1002, 1003, etc. And when you hear the thunder, divide the number of seconds by 5 to get the approximate distance of the lightning from you in miles. However, if you're out there in the field and you're trying to get to us, or you're trying to figure out if that lightning is close enough to hit you, don't fool around with this. Move. Go to a place of safety and don't waste your time doing this. And the reason for that is thunderstorms can move very fast. The average speed of a thunderstorm is about 25 to 30 miles per hour, although some can move as fast as 70 to 80 miles per hour. So you don't want to waste time doing this when you need to be getting to a safer place. If you are out there and someone has been hit by lightning, if you're qualified to render first aid, do it. The other thing, or call 911 or both. If you see people that appear to be unconscious, treat them first before you treat those that are conscious. In medical parlance, they call that reverse triage. You want to treat those that are unconscious first. The reason for that is because unconsciousness means that there is no flow of oxygen to the brain, and every second that ticks by means a greater potential for brain damage. So a CPR or a chest compressions need to be done to try to revive that person and keep oxygen flowing to the brain. Now it's time for a little bit of a lightning fact or fiction. Question one, lightning never strikes the same place twice, fact or fiction? You all know what that is, I'm sure. It's fiction. Lightning can and does strike multiple times. For example, the Empire State Building in New York has been struck multiple times. Number two, the car is an excellent place to seek shelter from lightning because the tires in the car do not allow the lightning to reach the ground. Take that question on the whole and think about it for a minute. The answer on the whole is false. And it's false because the tires have no such effect. The car is an excellent place to seek shelter from lightning because the metal body of the fully enclosed car acts like a cage, allowing the current to flow around the outside of the vehicle and down to the ground, even with the gap between the metal and ground caused by the tires. And this next image shows lightning in the lab coming down and striking the roof of the car and then jumping from the hub of the wheel past the tire and down to the ground to surface. And the man inside, I understand, was a real live man, not a dummy or a mannequin. Number three, if I'm hit by lightning, I will be a crispy critter. Fact or fiction? And generally it's fiction. Yes, there will be some burns from lightning. But in comparison to electric shock survivors, excuse me, the burns will generally be surface burns that heal pretty quickly, whereas electric shock survivors will have burns that penetrate more deeply into the body. And the reason for that is because the contact time with lightning on the human body is generally very short. The duration of a lightning flash is on the order of milliseconds to microseconds to milliseconds. In contrast, the contact time with a source of man-made electricity is generally on the order of tenths of a second to whole seconds. And that is like 4 or 5 degrees of magnitude difference. Or 3 to 4 degrees of magnitude difference. And that's an eternity. So that's why the lightning burns tend not to be as severe as electric shocks. And speaking of lightning burns, I'm going to show you a particular kind of lightning burn. This is called a ferning pattern, and it looks like little branches of lightning along the side of this person's body, little flashes of lightning, and up and down this lady's leg, what looks like a little lightning flash going up with little dendrites running out from it. These so-called ferning patterns, or Lichtenberg figures, last for about 24 hours or so, and then they dissipate, they disappear. And we still don't fully understand how they form the mechanisms they do. And at one time, it was thought that lightning was the only way to get these patterns on people. But more recently, these figures have been found from man-made electricity as well, although it is not nearly as common with electric shock as it is from lightning. 4, people struck by lightning keep an electric charge after being hit by lightning and can shock you when you touch them. Fact or fiction? That is fiction. People who are struck by lightning do not carry an electric charge after being hit, and therefore first aid measures can be taken if needed. Remember, lightning is a totally and completely random act of nature, and no place outside is safe when lightning is around. And even indoors, there is not an absolute guarantee of safety, but hopefully these pointers that I've given will help reduce the chance of being hit by lightning. And with that, I conclude my talk and open the floor to questions.
I saw forensic in your title. That usually implies criminal or court applications. How does that work with you?
In my forensic work, what I do is reconstruct a picture of the weather conditions associated with injuries, accidents, property loss, and things of that nature. Like if somebody slips and falls on the ice, one side says, no, that didn't happen. The other side yet says, yes, it did. And I'm called on to figure out what happened weather-wise that may or may not contributed to that incident happening. And then you have like your hurricane damage claims, wind damage, snow loading, those kinds of things I get involved in from time to time too.
Mhm. Okay, no one on Zoom yet that has a question, but I know we have a number 2 here at my house. Questioner number 2. I can repeat your question. The question was about being in a car and how long should you stay in the car if you're been hit by lightning. Is that the question? Okay.
Let me make sure I understand that question. The
Yes.
question was, how long should I stay in my car if I have been hit by lightning?
Yes. If your car's been hit by lightning.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, generally, well, and let me give you a few pointers about being in your car. First of all,
Super.
when you go in your car, make sure the windows are rolled up, one, fully. And number two, as the old country song from the mid 1990s used to say, keep your hands to yourself. Don't be touching your keys. Don't be touching the metal parts inside your car because even though the lightning generally flows around the outer shell of the car down to the ground, that can still conduct some of the metal in the car to you. So keep your hands to yourself. And most people, lightning safety advocates, recommend staying in your safe place until 30 minutes after you've seen the last stroke of lightning or the last sound of thunder.
Okay. Okay. That was a good answer. About 30 minutes then. Thank you. Questioner number 3. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I'm just going to pass on a little safety tip that there's an old time golfer named Lee Trevino.
Mhm.
I don't know if
Yes.
you're familiar with him. Okay. Well, he says if you're out on a golf course and you're playing golf and you see a storm coming up and you're worried about lightning, you just hold up a 1-iron because not even God can
Yep.
hit a 1-iron.
I kind of like that. Yeah.
You heard that. You know where I was.
Yeah, he was hit by lightning, actually. I think you all know that, but he was hit.
Very good. A good joke, John. Good one. We have a question from Miss McDonald, and that is, are those of us with metal implants, joint replacements, pacemakers, more likely to be have a problem with like be struck by lightning?
The presence of metal on you or in you does not increase the likelihood of being hit by lightning. Lightning is a capricious thing. It generally will tend to hit higher objects than lower objects in the area, but because of that zigzagging pattern of the step leader and all the different upward streamers that emanate from the ground, it may not always hit the highest object and metal is not any more attractive to lightning than wood or rocks or anything else. So the answer is no.
Thank you. Questioner number 3. And 4. Oh no, questioner number 3.
We passed 3.
We passed.
You did 3.
Oh, okay. That's right. We did 3. That's right. Question number 4. Now I got it.
Okay, all right. I was wondering, the map that you showed, the right side of it didn't show the numbers. I wonder, what's the difference between like Central Africa's numbers for lightning strikes compared to Oregon's numbers for lightning strikes? Is it like, 100 times or 1,000 times, or what is it?
I would say it's got to be at least 100 times. And Central Africa is the lightning capital of the world. And by relative comparison, I don't know how I might describe that. It'd be like using a floodlight for Central Africa versus a little birthday candle for Oregon. All right, the contrast is that stark.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Are there types of metal that are more dangerous because of extreme heat from lightning?
I don't think so. I mean, metal is metal, and if it's in contact with your skin, it's going to hurt no matter what
Mhm.
kind of metal it is. I mean, some metals are more thermally conductive than others, like the copper on the bottom of your rearware cookware, for example, is more conductive than other kinds, heat conductive than other kinds of metal.
Mhm.
But if that's up against your body, that's not going to make any difference. So that metal is going to get hot and it's going to burn your body. And people have been burned that way. People wearing their earphones and their earbuds, they've been burned with the wires on their neck. Women who wear the underwire bras have had the figure of their bra burn into their chest,
Mhm.
uh, and so on. So you really want to avoid having any metal in contact with your body, and the type of metal isn't going to make much difference.
Okay. Let's see. Now we're at question number. Go ahead, Al.
Yes, I learned about lightning by reading the lecture, the chapter on Feynman's lectures on physics about atmospheric electricity. I think that's pretty well known. Are you any familiar with that, Ron?
I've looked through that book, but I haven't fully read it. I am familiar with it, though.
I understand that he got a lot wrong, and that everything I learned about lightning might not be true. Can you point out any mistakes that he made? For example, he said that lightning charges the atmospheric electricity, and that because it was concentrated in Brazil, that's when the thunderstorms are going off in Brazil, was when the atmospheric electricity all around the world was strongest. But your map shows the hotspot being in Africa, so that might not be true. I don't know.
Well, the lightning interacts with the upper atmosphere, which can generate radio noise that can be heard all over the world. So, to some extent, what he was saying is true, but there's a broader. That's part of lightning is an act of balancing the Earth's atmospheric natural electric field, and so he's partially right, but our understanding of that is still evolving even now.
Thank you. We have a question. Let's see, we've got question number 6.
Yes.
Oh, Suzanne, so good to see you here. Yeah. Very good.
Hi there.
Mhm.
I have a niece that is in her 60s, early 60s, and she was struck by lightning, and she said she still has effects from it. Now, I wished I would pay attention and ask her what they were, but I didn't. But so what about that? Does this stay with you?
Yes, people who have been hit by lightning can have long-term effects. And we would, if you could, if you could get a hold of maybe Helen or David, we can set you up with one of our Lightning Data Center meetings and her, and she might have questions that she would want to have answered. We can address those during one of our meetings. We would welcome that.
Dave, with your permission, I'd like to share a little about the treatment that patients would have if they came to the Oregon Burn Center after a lightning strike. Might I about the long-term effects?
Yes.
Steve, I'm sorry. Steve, would that be okay? I keep calling you David, so I'm so sorry. But with it at the Oregon Burn Center, when someone would come from because they had a burn uh, secondary to their injury, uh, we would immediately within the 1 or 2 days have a neuropsych evaluation by a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and it's a pretty intense examination. It takes a couple hours because so many of our patients who had electrocution from a lightning strike when we had a psychotic episode after. And this would be 2 to 3 weeks after their hit. And it was just something we noticed over time that these patients would have these psychotic episodes 2 or 3 weeks, and that sometimes they would have neurological losses, like a weakness in their extremities, lower extremities. And so we would do a big assessment on any lightning strike patient. And because sometimes they'd be discharged, they're like Steve was saying, their burns weren't that bad. And so we'd patch them up and put them in dressings and say, oh, you can head home. And then we'd get a phone call a couple of weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, and they were psychotic and the families were desperate for help. So, Steve, do you have that? Is that something you and your organization has found?
Well, yes, and some of the things that you described are actually pretty common
Yeah.
among those among lightning survivors. Sometimes the injuries are immediate, right after the strike, and sometimes they're delayed. They feel good for a day or two, and all of a sudden they have this sag, I guess you might say,
Mhm.
in their well-being, and all they can do is attribute it to lightning strike, and they're seeking help. And and it's common to have, like you said, neurological injuries, coordination issues, sleeping and eating disorders, um, pain all over their body,
Mhm.
so, muscle contractions, and all manner of things. Not everybody has the same thing,
Yeah.
but those are some of the more common things that we see. And I must qualify my comments by saying that I am not a physician. I'm a meteorologist.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I would encourage, like I said, one of you to join our meetings, and hopefully our medical advisor, Dr. Yarnell, could be there and he could address the medical component better than I could.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Questioner number 7.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the kinds of cultural problems you're encountering in Africa and how you are dealing or how people are dealing with correcting those, coming in with the safety issues?
Well, yeah. So first of all, it's a very third world country. They don't have the modern infrastructure they have. They're not educated in modern lightning safety. Soccer match. They play a lot of soccer down there, and there was a game that was played one time. Kids were on the field, and the lightning was in the area. Lightning struck nearby, and every kid on one team was killed, but the other team, all the players survived. So naturally, there were suspicions of witchcraft of the surviving team against the losing team, and it created a very bitter and angry community, and a lot of mistrust amongst the members of that community for that reason. So there are a lot of barriers along that line that have to be broken down, and that can only be broken down one day at a time, one visit at a time. Literally, people going out there and educating these people about lightning safety. And one of the things they're trying to do there in Africa is make use of the public media like television, radio to help out with that. But it's a long and hard process. We even have some of that here in the United States, like in the southwestern part where the Indian reservations are. And if you're struck by lightning, you're looked at askance almost. And it's very unfortunate, but that happens here sometimes too.
We had an episode where in Oregon where kids were boys were playing football, but like a flag football, and it was a scheduled game, and the coaches swear that there was no warning about there was maybe some clouds, but they didn't expect a thunderstorm. They certainly didn't expect lightning, and the lightning hit the ground, and all the kids on the field fell to the ground, and they just were injured. Some needed to be revised. Some ended up in our unit, and one boy lost his ability to walk after that. So they were devastated. The families were just devastated. So this happens here. It has happened here where the kids were injured on the field. It was awful. It was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ground current right there is
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah. Let's see. Were you number 8? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, what about a phenomenon called ball lightning? Remember that? I guess that's a different phenomena as opposed to the regular lightning you talk about.
It is a real phenomenon. It's very ephemeral. It's not commonly seen, but it does occur. Modern science does not fully understand how it formed, how or why it forms. There are a lot of theories and models for its formation that try to explain it, but none of them fully cover how it formed. But it's out there, it's real, and like you might have read in some of the old accounts, it can come down through the chimney and into the house and just disappear, or it can explode with a pop. And people have been injured by ball lightning when it has come into contact with them. There was a flight, an airplane flight that left Denver, and I think it was headed to Miami, if I remember right. And not too long after takeoff, lightning hit the plane, and there was a ball of light in the cabin of the plane, traveled down the center aisle, and it hit one of the flight attendants in the back of the airplane, and that flight attendant was injured.
Wow.
So it's real.
Thank you. I have a question from about lightning from Robert. Is lightning more prevalent in mountainous regions?
It can be, and part of the reason, well, Florida is not mountainous, so
Yeah.
so it's most prevalent there. The mountains can be a more frequent place for lightning. If you look at the United States map, right along the front range of the Rocky Mountains from Montana down into New Mexico is kind of a favorite place for lightning because the moisture that flows up from the Gulf towards the mountains and then is lifted up to form the storm clouds against the mountains. And so that's an initiation spot for thunderstorm formation, and thus lightning incidence is pretty high along the edge of the Rocky Mountains, for example.
Okay. Questioner number 9. Okay, Marky.
Yeah, about 30 years ago, I lived in Tennessee, and we had a very large pecan tree in the backyard. Was struck by lightning one day during the day, and my neighbors on both sides, it destroyed their television sets. It set off the alarm system in my house to where I could not shut the alarm off. I had to call the company to come out and fix it. And the tree was burned, but it did not kill the tree. But the next year it had a bumper crop of So how did the lightning affect all 3 houses and not kill the tree?
So you're asking us, how did the lightning strike the tree and affect all 3 houses?
Yeah.
And not kill the tree.
Well, It's hard to tell without seeing the lay of the land out there, but it could have been multiple branches of lightning. It could have been ground current, uh, but we don't know. But that's not uncommon to have lightning strike one place and to have some residences nearby be affected. That has happened.
Okay, we have questioner number 10. Okay, Leslie.
We talked about voltage, and is there research or whatever to try to capture the voltage of lightning?
We have what's called the Natural Lightning Data Network and also the U.S. Precision Lightning Network. Those are the two main lightning detection networks in our country. And both of them will capture voltages and currents associated with lightning. And typically, the voltages, usually for most garden variety lightning, are in the tens to hundreds of thousands, tens to hundreds of thousands of volts, and the currents are roughly tens to hundreds of thousands of amps of current.
Okay. There was a question from Edie McDaniels about, tell us please about burn injury that lightning causes. Steve, do you want to say, I can add a little bit after you've mentioned, after you talk about your thoughts on this, please, about the burn injuries that lightning causes. And I can add a little bit after you're finished.
Maybe I'll let you just take the answer on that because
Okay.
I'm not privy to that necessarily. I know what happens, but you're in a better spot to address that.
Yeah, the ones that I can remember, and I've been retired now for a bit, but the patients that I remember, their injuries were super, like on the out, a lot of legs, a lot of leg burns, and often they could heal without skin grafts, which means they weren't super deep. But the one young man that, oh, careful, hon. The one young man that I mostly remember, who was on that football field, his burns were legs, calves, and he needed a skin graft to have them healed, which would mean they would be deeper. But his injuries were more neurological in the end than they were from a burn injury. So they're treated, you're treated just like any burn injury. If they're too deep, they're grafted. If they're not deep, they're bandaged and cared for, and the body heals itself. So that's what I remember from burn injuries from lightning. Let's see, I think we're on number 10, right? 11. Oh my goodness, number of patient, not patient. Attending number 10? 11. 11.
I've got 11. The most famous guy for messing around with lightning, of course, was Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
And he went out with his son. I think he made his son fly the kite, and he held a Leyden jar. Was that right? If you had to do that experiment, how would you do it?
Good question.
I would not be doing that experiment. Now, that's the answer to that. Let somebody else do it. I'm not going to do it.
He was lucky he didn't get struck by lightning, wasn't he, Benjamin Franklin and his son?
Right.
Yes, yes. Okay, any other questions? We got 11 questions. That's a record. We used to get through 11 questions in one session. That's wonderful. Steve, this has been really interesting and very informative. And I hold the members here at the Humanists quite dear. So thank you for keeping my friends safe in a lightning storm. That's for sure.
Thank you for having me, and reach out to me if you have any further questions or if you want to join one of my meetings, or you can get a hold of Edie and she can tap me on the shoulder, whatever works.
Steve, can you tell us a little bit about, before you go, the data center? I mean, it sounds like that's it's been around for a while, and it's a group of individuals very concerned about lightning safety.
We are an interdisciplinary group consisting of meteorologists, physicians, engineers, um, people who have been hit by lightning, survivors, are part of our group, and other people who have an interest in lightning, like lightning photography, for example. And we meet once a month, every second Friday of the month. And we
Second
do it by
Friday.
Zoom.
And you meet by Zoom. And what time of day do you have your meetings?
We have our meetings at 11:45 a.m. Mountain Time, and they run about 45 minutes, about
Okay.
40 minutes.
And to join, we just send a message to you.
Yeah, if you're interested in attending a meeting, let me know, and you can send an email to me, and then I can send the announcement to you. And what I do is I tend to put out the announcements about 2 or 3 days prior to the day of the meeting is what I do. And then if somebody's been hit by lightning and they want to share their story, we would welcome that too.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's I think we have some people that would be interested in attending one of your meetings. So thank you again, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. We'll give you one more round of applause.
Thank you.
Yeah.